And this clicker works? Yes. If it doesn't, that's awesome. Great. Okay, so thank you for having me. My name is Boutsikaris. I am the Source Watershed Specialist with the New York State DEC's Hudson River Estuary Program, and my colleagues Ingrid and Scott Cuppet are here today, and we'll be here all afternoon to talk with you more about the work that we do. But today I'm going to be providing an overview of how watershed characterizations and planning fit into the estuary program's broader work. I'm going to start by talking about the DEC's Clean Water Planning Framework, then move into our estuary program approach, which supports work through grants and technical assistance, and is reliant upon partnerships with the people here in this room and with Emily. And then I'll go into some of the grants and implementation resources that are available. So the Hudson River Estuary Program works in the tidal portion of the Hudson River in the counties that are highlighted on the map. And our mission is to help communities conserve and ensure a resilient estuary and watershed for present and future generations. And Ingrid mentioned that our new 2026 to 2030 action agenda is about to come out. It's organized into these different chapters, which are highlighted in the goals of our program. I primarily work in the Healthy Tributaries chapter or section, but this is how we organize and are able to fund all of the work that we do. So when this comes out, I really encourage you to take a look at it, and I'm going to walk you through how it's organized a little bit more later in the presentation. So yeah, why develop clean water plans? This is the DEC's way of thinking about clean water plans, and the answer is because it's part of the water wheel, and the water wheel is how the Division of Water in the DEC organizes itself. There are people in each one of these sections that are on the water wheel, and there's a lot of different types of plans. I can go into more detail about all of these, maybe if there's time afterwards, but I want to make sure that I get through all my slides. And the sixth one, action agendas. We're a program in the DEC, so our action agenda is also part of the way that the Division of Water thinks about clean water planning. And so that watershed characterizations are in our action agenda, so therefore it's part of the Division of Water and the DEC's goals as a broader whole. So it matters to be doing this, and the department recognizes that. So imagine that this is a water pipeline, not an oil pipeline. But yeah, overall, our program has pieces of all of these. We are working to try to help all different phases of this project pipeline, from outreach to technical support, funding, and research. And sometimes you might not know what part of the pipeline you're in, but we can help you contextualize your work and thinking about how it fits into a broader action agenda and the larger goal as a whole. So different parts of what you're all doing fall somewhere within this, and they're all trying to move towards a broader goal strategically, and they can be without you even knowing it, and we can help you figure out where you are in that. So our program, we support communities through both technical assistance, which is staff time, and grant funding across a range of different areas of expertise, and we have staff also that work in each of these. The ones in bold are specific to water. So yeah, we help with watershed planning, tree plantings, dam removal, culvert replacement, proactive source water protection. And we also have team members that are working on climate change adaptation and natural resource inventories and open space planning. So overall, the Hudson River Estuary Program is here to help pair funding and expertise and give the communities what they need to be able to move forward effectively with the goals that you're trying to achieve. So, and with some confidence, we can help boost you up if you don't know where to start or what to do. So back to the action agenda, I also wanted to thank Emily and for her input on the action agenda. And our action agenda acknowledges the importance of watershed groups. We know that they're associated with improved water quality and improved community engagement. So we really are committed to helping watershed groups. And that's in our action agenda. And once you look at it, you'll see that each of those chapters that I mentioned at the beginning, they're organized into strategies that go from learning about the resource, sharing what we learn, and making change. And within those broad strategies, there's specific actions, and within those big actions, there's specific measures of success. And that's kind of how our grant programs align. And here are some examples from the Healthy Tributaries chapter. So in the category of learning about the resource, we collaborate with on research efforts with DEC's Division of Water and the USGS and research and educational institutions. So that's where learning about the resource fits in. For sharing what we learn, that's kind of where this watershed characterization fits in. We're supporting the development of watershed-based characterizations. Ingrid mentioned that we have a goal to support about 10 of these characterizations in the next 4 years, so that's a big number. And yeah, with flood mitigation studies, there's other sharing what we learn types of training that you can do. And then for making change, we are working to support municipalities and nonprofits and watershed groups to implement projects that address water quality improvements. And we're trying to help leverage larger funding opportunities by either helping people get to know about them or funding some of those pre-studies that you need to be able to get bigger pots of funding. Here, just within that same framework of learning about the resource, sharing what we learn, and making change, I have a couple more examples of the type of work that we do. So learning more and the staff time. This was a recent water quality monitoring effort that just wrapped up called the Monitoring of Unassessed Stream Segments program. This is on the Fishkill Creek. So, and we're going to be funding more water quality monitoring. For sharing what we learn, this is a photo from a capacity building cohort session that was at Emily's office a few months ago, and I added one more action from our action agenda, which is we want to build capacity and regional support through learning networks, outreach and training, kind of like this one. So that's kind of where that fits in. And then making change, I wanted to highlight the recent water quality improvement program grant that the city of Peekskill just got awarded for protecting 83 acres that are draining into it's in the watershed for the Wikipedia Reservoir, the primary drinking water source for the city of Peekskill. And that came from a drinking water source protection program plan and meetings where we were bringing stakeholders together. And now that parcel that's highlighted on that map is going to be protected forever. And that was part of an outcome of what our program is doing. So next, I'm just going to try to talk a little bit more about some case studies of recent ESPRI program support. And because often, and just more about implementation, because oftentimes a lot of the work that we're funding they are mentioned as priority projects in old watershed plans or newer watershed characterizations. So you can like pick up an old watershed plan and be like, oh, culverts, and we can still fund that because that's still coordinated planning. We've heard a lot about these today, so I'm not going to even waste time talking about them, but we funded these recent watershed characterizations. And we have 2 new watershed characterizations that are going to be coming out with Clarkson University. So Asher is here for the Fishkill Creek, and the town of Lloyd we funded for a Black Creek watershed characterization. So these are recently completed, and then we have 2 new that were recently awarded in our most recent grant round, which is exciting. We also have a Trees for Shrubs program. So this is a really easy, low-hanging fruit. We provide free trees and shrubs for anyone in the estuary to plant along streams. And this is a great first step. I mean, if you have a willing landowner or a park in your community and you want to get people together, this is something that you can do. We have 2 application periods a year, and it's something that I love to do. And it's a really great way of getting people together. Source water protection, I mainly just put this on here because that's primarily the role that I fill. I work with communities that have adopted drinking water source protection program plans. And here are some key achievements from last year. And I'm excited because I also just signed on to help the Hudson 7 for this year as a technical assistance person with my staff time. So that kind of encompasses a lot of other watershed groups that are here in the room today because it's the largest source watershed in our estuary, and I'm going to get to work with them this year. So that's great. Yes, so here we have culvert replacement funding. We always have had culvert replacement funding, it feels like. And my colleague Jim Katz is the main person to talk with about this, but I highlighted this one because it's in the Rojan watershed, and I knew that Colleen was going to be here. But this is a recent culvert replacement that we completed on the Bash Fish Brook. It reconnected 2.2 miles of upstream habitat. You can see the fish on the left is the tiger trout, and the fish on the right is the brook trout, I believe. That is a really exciting, type of project. And the point here is that, it's not just about upsizing culverts, it's also can be about reducing flooding and increasing resilience and managing storms and better, and having all these co-benefits that are often in plans. So if you know of a culvert that is problematic, we have funding to improve those road stream crossings. And yeah, here, these are the areas where we have already completed road stream crossing management plans and have conceptual designs for replacement. And like Larry said, you are the cavalry, so you can help move these conceptual plans forward and help get these conceptual designs into actual replacement funding. So you can help push these along, or if your watershed is in a municipality where a plan is missing, that's another thing that you can do, is that you can get a conceptual road stream crossing management plan completed in that area. Also, we have dam removal funding. This was also critically with a partnership with the Quassaic Creek Watershed Alliance, who's also here today. This was the first dam upstream on the Quassaic Creek. And in the lacrosse deck, you can see that a blue crab was observed above the dam. So this is an exciting, example of, again, partnership with watershed groups through watershed plans, actually changing the in-stream habitat and all the benefits that go along with that.
So great.
So here is the current status location of all the areas where dam removal is imminent. These are places that we have either interested landowners, it's the broadest net, or they're in some stage of getting dam removal to happen. And Scott is here to talk more about that if you have a dam that you're interested in getting removed. So these are also just some implementation resources. I know that we're close to lunch, but I wanted to highlight these because, we have funding available, and these are slides that you will have access to after the fact. So of course, we have our Hudson River Estuary Grants Program. We just announced on Friday our most recent round of awardees. So congratulations to everyone who got a grant. And these are the different grant opportunity categories. And I think the most recent round was round of 46. So this has been we've had this grant round a lot, and it's a consistent thing that you can depend upon. And we're going to have webinars coming up soon about our grants. So keep an eye out for that. And I wanted to highlight, this was a last minute addition, but we actually right now have a technical assistance opportunity available. And sorry for the heavy text on this slide, but this is a pretty simple application. It's a smaller application because it's to work directly with our conservation and land use team in Hudsonia to get some nicer maps to help a report describing forests in a municipality and a list of areas and parcels prioritized based on different community goals. And then you'll get a brief report that describes the municipal land use policies in that area. So I really encourage people to apply for this. The application deadline is May 6th, and Christine Vanderlyn is the person to reach out for. But as we all know, forests and water are connected. So this is one great opportunity that's open right now. And a couple additional, there's just two more funding opportunities that you should look at. The Water Quality Improvement Program grants. This is a location of all the different Water Quality Improvement Program grants that have been awarded since 1991, I believe. And this is for these larger pots of money about wastewater infrastructure upgrades, non-point source pollution, land acquisition like the one that I mentioned, salt storage and road runoff management, and also bigger aquatic habitat restoration. So this is I encourage you to check out the grant mapper that they have to see all the different awards, to see if there's something that you can draw inspiration from. And there's a newer non-agricultural, non-point source planning and MS4 mapping grant. There's only been about 6 rounds of this so far, but this is another planning type of grant, and it helps projects prepare to be competitive for WQIP. So this is for some of those, when you sometimes need plans to get access to bigger funds. The non-point source grant is a great version, or is a great resource for that. And that's a link to that portal where you can toggle between the two different types of awardees that have been given money. So yeah, also just the Bond Act is still active. It's about half spent right now. There's $4.2 billion extra dollars that's being spent and funneled through already existing state funding programs. So I would encourage anyone who has an idea for a capital project that could occur. It's time to apply for Bond Act funding because this money is going to be spent, and there is a funding finder for all of the different projects that have been spent through, or for all the different types of grants that you can apply. And you can toggle this online portal by typing in keywords that you're interested in, and it'll show you, I think there's like 400 different types of grants that you can get. And it's filterable by topic that you're interested in. So there's a lot of funding out there, and I encourage estuary communities to apply for that because it's a statewide, obviously, thing. Here's all the resources and the newsletters, and there is a cute salamander from last week, and that's all. I hear that we have some questions from our virtual attendees, so I'm going to see what I can find here. Okay, so this is a question from for Anna. What's the best way to get in touch about culvert requests? Reach out to Jim Katz, so JIM.KATZ. Okay, great. And that's at the Hudson River Estuary Program. And you can check their website too if you need more information. Okay, great. Yes, and we will be able to share out with permission from our speakers the slides that have all of the funding links, that have all of the different programs, because there was a lot of detail, a lot of really rich detail shared that we want to make sure you have access to. Are there any questions here in the room? Would you rather eat lunch? Yeah, Jeff.
I would like to understand better where Department of State and Department of Environmental Conservation, like where is the line there? And when, as far as from a watershed, management group, where do you go to whom at what point?
That's a complicated question. I'll take that one if you don't mind. Because it depends on the type of plan. So if you applied to the Hudson River Estuary Program for a watershed characterization with one of their grants, you would interface with the Hudson River Estuary Program, but you might want to refer to the DOS or DEC guidance if you have eventual goals to do one of those kinds of plans. If you want to do a 9-element plan with Department of State funding, you'll be interfacing both with DEC and DOS staff as part of that process, right? To make sure that you're on track for approval, because they'll both need to sign off and approve the plan formally. If you're applying to Department of State for what we're calling the DOS plan, then you'll primarily be interfacing with DOS staff like Brittany, but there may also be areas where you'd interface with DEC as well to get the right information, to get the right, data and all of that. So it depends on the type of the plan. It depends on the funding source. And we talked a little bit about the different focus areas. It's going to depend what information you're putting into your plan as well to make sure you've got, access to the right folks to make sure the plan is as implementable as possible. Yeah, great question.